I was working with a PM and she had a similar, just someone thought like, why are you writing a PRD? That's my job. That's mainly what I do. I'm like, that's mainly what you do. I was taken aback. That's your value. It's writing this Notion document. It seems like very surface level. It's like, if I remove your PRD writing abilities, what additional value do you add? It's got to be, there's more to it. And I know there's more to it.
Well, that sounds like a fun exercise. Like if I would take away your Figma work, Tyler, like what's left?
And you're officially live.
We are officially live, exactly. I mean, this is just an experiment. Tyler, I'm curious about something. How many people are in the department that you are working at? How many of those people are designers, like in the official job title, and how many of them feel like they are designers?
Well, where I'm sitting, we use a pod system. So there's usually one designer per pod. So a pod would be like a sector of the app. In total, we're about like 7 designers total.
Right.
And to their later question, everyone thinks they're a designer. Well, everyone has an opinion on design, I should say.
Yeah, right. Yes, I mean, that's interesting right there. And the reason I'm asking is because I see so many people online and in different communities, design-related communities, express a concern about, like you say, people having an opinion on quote unquote their work. Not sure why, but also it's something I feel from time to time as well. So I felt like this would be a good, design therapy, help me survive the summer type session where we can talk about, why people feel that way and why I feel that way. And maybe even you feel that way. But that's why I'm always coming to you as my design therapist, basically.
I'll put my therapist hat on. Mm-hmm. I don't think, like, I understand the sentiment. I'm trying to, I see that as well. Like, people are concerned with other departments or other people doing what they consider design work, which I'm like, I had a conversation with someone recently, or a Zoom call interview, where they had said something funny. It's like, you're in the minority in that opinion, right? And I was talking about, I don't really care where an idea comes from, and I don't care if anyone else uses my tool, if someone uses a Figma or a whiteboarding tool. Like, the tools don't, in the end of the day, they don't make you the designer. It's like, it's the brain behind it, which is the differentiator. It was never I come up with an idea or someone is using part of my process. It's like, it's the brain, it's the design thinking hat we put on that separates us as a designer versus someone jumping in and using a tool, or someone coming in and feeding you an idea. I just don't think that's the moat is always like your mind, like how you think as a designer.
All right. And what is the actual moat within the thinking? So what is that, something like just being good at design theory, like colors and psychology, or like what did you mean there?
I mean, it's a combination of things. So it's like, yes, it's the craft part. So like typically we're very good at like the visual and like the history of I guess art and design, and like how do you lay things out, and then that bridges into like human psychology. Like what is the user thinking? How do we deploy different strategies to get the user across the finish line, or to use a feature, or to solve a problem? Like that, like those combination of those two skills are unique to like our department. Let's say if you're trying to think like a PM person, like, or a product manager, their hat is a bit different. It's very business oriented. It's how do we increase revenue? Like how do we drive forward? There's a different hat that they wear. And then engineer, it's like how do we get this backlog clean, or move these tickets to done? It's like, how do we reduce scope to get things across the finish line? Like it's a different hat that we wear. And yes, I'm seeing a lot of like the roles kind of flatten, kind of, you can see it clearly, like the bridging of the gap between design and engineering, design and PM work. But like at the end, like at first principles, what we do still makes us unique.
Right. So, but why do you think people then still feel that concern? Like, is it that people might, let's zoom out and look at an example. So let's say a PM comes to you and they already have some sort of vibe-coded prototype. Like, hey, this is the direction I think we should be going into. Like, what do you think?
Like, awesome.
Yeah. Do you think it sounds to me like you're listening to your reaction that you are more like, hey, that saves me a lot of work. I can now do the fun part, or
Well, because like that vibe coded thing is just a conversation piece. Like as part of our process, we have discovery, wireframing, and then we're showing something to the PM. Like
Mhm.
it's the same exercise. It's not here is the solution. Let's like, when's the last time you said, here's the design? And they said, well, okay, let me just implement it. There's a conversation that happens. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like we present a design, we talk about it. Is this the right solution? Yes or no? If not, let's discuss how to make it so.
Yeah.
And then if we switch the roles, that PM comes like, here, I have a solution. Like your job as a designer is to assess the feasibility of that solution. Also, if that solution actually works. So
Mhm.
it's the start of a conversation, not the line in
Yeah.
the sand. This is what we're doing. That's never happened in the reverse.
I think people might be concerned that back in the day, being last year, this wasn't the case. So they moved from nothing to something, and then they are afraid that the something at some point becomes good enough that it will be a finished thing, right? They
Mm.
have that straight line bias, like this line keeps moving up into this direction that it's going into now. So I have to resist, I think. That's what people thinking.
Yeah, I don't think you need to resist. I like there's still a sanity check layer that we have to do as each part of like the department. But like as a designer,
Mhm.
just like a sanity check. Like yes, we can build stuff and the things to automate, but like the front end of or the discovery work is the most important part. Like, does this
Yeah.
solution work? Let's validate it. Let's check the edge cases. It's not like here's
Mhm.
a solution. I imagine if you're the PM suggesting a solution, you probably haven't looked through all the different edge cases that from a UX point of view and all the different edge cases from the engineering point of view.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the favorite things that's happening around me currently is that, yeah, sure, non-designers are trying to design just as designers are trying to code. But
Mm-hmm.
I get a lot more requests of people saying like, I've made this thing, but I'm not sure if it's good. Can you work on it? And then at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, when I'm starting in code for a project, at the end, I'm like, I think this is good enough, but I don't know. So then I go to the actual skilled person, the developer, and I'm
Yeah.
telling them like, hey, this is what I made. Can you make sure it's good? Because I don't know, you know? So I think in the end, you will always need someone who does know, you know, if it's a
Mm-hmm.
designer or a developer or a marketer or salesperson or whatever, you'll end like if you're a smart person, you'll end up asking someone with skills to sanity check your work.
Yeah, and that's like a clear insight into like the moat that I was talking. Like that's clear. Like I don't know. I don't know what I
Mhm.
don't know, and I need the person with the expert hat to validate.
Yeah.
Okay, there. We're bleeding into the other skill sets, but like I don't know. I just
Mhm.
I'm able to do the thing. I just don't know if the thing is right.
Yeah. Yeah. In my mind, it's right. Like I think it's good, but then I submit it for PR, for review, and I get so many comments back. You know, and I'm learning, so I'm getting better. But
Mm-hmm.
still, it really does show you the difference between a basic person, me in this case, like, hey, well, I think this is good, and then a skilled person saying, nope, wait a minute, you didn't do these 10 things.
Yeah, and that's partially a caveat or a result of like the AI tools we're using that sounds so confident. It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, that sounds great. Do it. You build it, and
Yeah.
then, but it doesn't challenge the solution that you've kind of brought it. Like,
Yeah.
I have this idea for this thing. This is how I want to build it. It's like, oh, that's a great idea. You should do that. But like, it sounds confident because it just wants you to feel good and be positive, or that's how it's been programmed, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's like we talked about prompting a while back, but then, you know, you should probably include some sort of scoring metric in in addition to your question. Like, is
Mm-hmm.
this a good idea? Score 1 to 5 based on these metrics, go.
Yeah.
And then it's more likely that that'll give you a 1 or a 2 out of 5 instead of just saying, yeah, yeah, nice, go for it, my friend. But
But I
that's,
think I like to circle back to like the person's or like the fear there. It's like the fear seems to be like, here's a solution. Now I just have to do it. Like I'm just in execution mode, and I'm not doing the full cycle of like what I do as a designer. When
Yeah.
I think the problem that I'm seeing in that question is that like part of what you should be doing is pushing back. It's like, it's not like you shouldn't be a yes man, or else that removes your value. Like if you're just saying, yes, I'll just make it pretty, then that's what you're going to be doing. But if you're not using the other quivers in your sheath, to use an old timey term, like you're leaving something to take. Like part of your job is to push back when ideas are wrong or are not well. Like
I think so. I mean, that's challenging, especially if you're like a junior to mid-level designer. Like I don't think you've ever done any of that, because in school you've just learned to design, in tools. And in school, most people just tell you what to do and yes, and here's a bit of feedback and keep working on it. But then in real life, you're suddenly hit with your first no, even if the no makes sense or not, Could be a sucky manager, who knows? So I think I agree with you. Like that's probably part of it, a big part of it, but they're also not at fault. Like I almost want to say, poor designer. Nobody taught you this.
Yeah. I mean, and if we were to play, like, it's fair. And also if we played that out and then they designed the thing that they were told to do because they couldn't say no, a good opportunity is to watch how that thing that was shipped did.
Yeah.
Like, did it do well? Like, did it, like, it could be like, oh, perfect, that was the solution. But if it most likely fails, like, keep your eye on it and understand why it failed. So for the next time someone says, hey, I have a solution, it's like, hey, no, actually, the last time you pushed something because it had X, it failed. So I'm going to take a second to look at your solution because I want to help this company succeed.
Yeah.
And there's your.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, sometimes managers are stubborn, right? Because like we have our insecurities as designers. I mean, this whole topic of this recording is, feeling insecure that people might take our job. I think it's healthy and perhaps a good plan to keep in mind that developers and managers and people who appear to be your enemy, even though they are not, they probably have their own insecurities. Before we continue, if you're feeling stuck in your design career, or if you feel like you're doing solid work while no one really notices, we've got a bunch of extra stuff on our website.
We're building a community for product designers to actually learn, grow, and get hired, not just scroll and collect more inspiration.
There's also articles, checklists, and courses,
all based on real-world experience from both of us. No fluff, just what actually works.
Check out designtablepodcast.com. The link is in the description. Also about AI, or hey, this designer can now write a Jira ticket. I thought that was my job, so you're not the only one being insecure.
Yeah. No, I see that across departments. I remember I was working at I think it was my last job that I was at. I was working with a PM, and she had a similar thought, like, why are you writing PMs? That's most of my job. Why are you writing a PRD? That's my job. That's mainly what I do. I'm like, that's mainly what you do. And I was taken aback. It's like, this is, you write a PR, that's your value. It's writing this Notion document. It seems like very surface level. It's like, if I remove your PRD writing abilities, what additional value do you add? It's gotta be, there's more to it. And I know there's more to it. It's funny how everyone is, to your point, is a bit insecure about like the things that they think they own.
Well, that sounds like a fun exercise. Like if I would take away your Figma work, Tyler, like what's left?
Everything else. That's if I couldn't use Figma anymore. Actually, I would love to not use Figma anymore. I love to do voice to prompt my way to success. But like, there's a lot of different things. There's a marketing strategy. There's product strategy. There's looking at analytics. There's customer success. There's like there's a whole slew of things that are the puzzle pieces to make a product or a company work. Like, I can definitely help out without using Figma.
Yeah. Well, of course, I mean, Figma, I went to Figma because it's still the most commonly used design tool. And a little bit of a side note, I'm very curious about that UX tools survey that they do every year, just to see if the market share of Figma is going down or not, or if it's just social media talk.
It might.
But I I don't mind too much, but I'm curious. But that's a bit of a side note. So I said Figma, but I meant like actual UI design. Like if you take all of that away, I mean, I think for a designer, there's a lot left still.
Of course, it's like, yeah, there's we don't just do. If I look at like my day to day, like the UI part, maybe like 20%. Like there's the discovery, there's the looking at the analytics and seeing where we're bleeding revenue. There's running user sessions. There's coming up with like growth hack strategies. There's like so much involved, like outside of the pixel pushing part. Like the pixel pushing part is like it's the skill that's becoming more and more important now. It's the reason why Airbnb was so successful. The differentiator was design, not the technology. But yes, that's your point. I'm curious what when you think about the removal of Figma, like what are you kind of leaning into? Like where do you see your value outside of that Figma or pixel pushing realm?
I think one of my best skills next to it is more in the facilitation role, workshopping, getting people unstuck, and getting the ideas out of your head onto paper. And from unstructured to structured is something I really enjoy doing, and that I think works really well also. So that would be my answer.
Yeah, and like to that point, like something that you really enjoy, the ideas are not coming from you in that example, that you are facilitating other people to collaborate and come up with a collective idea. So it doesn't have, like, to that point, it doesn't have to be your special thing that you're pushing forward. It's like, it's the back and forth that matters. It doesn't matter who had the initial idea. It's the massaging of it into like the perfect thing, or like the MVP or the MLP, till it becomes something that's good enough to ship.
Yeah, I think that's one of the strangest feelings that I have as a designer, that I'm not sure if many people get it, but it's, let's say you have that scenario that we just talked about. The whole team has some sort of idea of a cool feature, and they know more or less what it is, but it's hard to put into words. You come up with the first idea, wireframe, vibe code, a sketch, doesn't matter, something visual. And then they tell you, no, that's not it, but I think it's this thing. So then your idea can go into the trash can. Like it's not a good, well, quote unquote, good idea, but it did help unlock someone else to come up with this idea. I've had it happen that some people then told me like, yeah, sorry that you had to put in all that effort for nothing. And then I'm like, what do you mean? I think my quick sketch got us all unstuck towards the idea that we ended up with in the end.
Yeah.
So it served its purpose. And I don't care that it's not me. Like I'm not an artist with my signature in the bottom right corner of the art piece, So I think that's important. And that's strangely enough, that feels good. Like I don't have the pride, like it has to be me, but being the enabler is what felt good.
That's very smart. I wouldn't have thought it that way. Yeah, it doesn't matter if your idea was the one chosen. It moved everyone in the right direction.
Yeah. If I didn't do the thing, they would have been stuck for a while longer, maybe forever.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of why you shoot ideas at the wall, because ideas also point you in it could be like, we're not going to be doing this, so let's do less of this and more of something else.
Yeah. It's what I do for most coaching with designers. They usually focus like on a tiny detail on their portfolio website, or they feel overwhelmed by this perfectly sculptured, super senior level designer's portfolio. And then they take forever to get it done, if they ever get it done. But then if I tell them like, just put out the Lego bricks in front of you, just make sure you have everything there, even though it's super ugly, just in black and white, have it there in Webflow or Framer or Figma or whatever. And then once you have it there, it's so much easier to start dragging things around and taking a step back and seeing what it looks like, if it makes sense or not. That's basically the same thing. You design something crappy on purpose to unlock yourself or your team.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm curious so this feeling of like this ownership thing, like a lot is like shifting this year. Like Figma might be one of them, but I digress. Like, do you think like we will retain the designer that we are, or what we consider design, or the designer today? How do we imagine that's gonna shift? And then with that, like, what is the, like, what should you be thinking, like, to protect, I guess, your sanity, for lack of a better word, to like, I'm still doing my job, but it may not look like what design was traditionally looking like.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's probably a bit of character as well.
Mm,
When you get angry about something, it's usually because of your traits. And maybe when you have certain traits, you're more likely to become a designer. I don't know, but that's one of the directions I've been thinking about. I actually don't think the designer's role zoomed out changes too much. A
mm,
designer figures out what's going on, what the problem is, and explores all sorts of potential fixes for that. And then in the end, they polish something that they think works best.
mm,
That used to be manual, and you would draw something, sketch something out, Figma, Photoshop, Sketch, any of the tools that we've had or are still using. AI can just assist you in a way a calculator can assist you doing math, basically. So I think it's more about tool changes and less so about the philosophy of design.
fair.
Fixing a problem, finding the right solution. Side note, and then I'll stop rambling, but back in the day, designers were coding, and then at some point they weren't anymore. And so what people are saying, like, we're moving into this super cool new normal of designers who code. And then I'm like, well, that used to be the case back in the day. So
Did,
it
yeah.
feels to me like more like we're going full circle.
Yeah, I feel that also, like, going back into code again. It feels like the hark back on Figma again. We've been leveraging a lot of Figma Make lately. So as Figma just has the ability to have its own prompting tool that can vibe code a thing, but it's anchored on like the design system. And I just felt myself this week, like, what am I doing? Why am I building this extensive prototype when it feels like I'm actually coding a final product? And then once this prototype is done, I have to do that design dev handoff. Why am I not just jumping straight into code for the prototype?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's an interesting question. Like, why didn't you? Did you find an answer to that question?
I think it was just like I think it's just the shiny new. I think it's like anything. Like you use a tool for a certain purpose, and then we think it's like it's a hammer. Like everything's a nail. So like it's like, oh, we created this prototype as a communication tool. Like initially it was, let me just quick prototype sanity check solution so I can click around versus like stitch a Figma prototype together with a
Mhm.
bunch of squiggly lines across my Figma board. But now I have something that I can click around, and then you keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and then it resembles an entire SaaS app. So I think it's just like losing sight of what its purpose was, but then discovering that like the bridge between like fully fleshed out Figma Make and prototype is you could have just essentially just built it in code.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm thinking about now, and that's probably where I'm probably going to live next. I'm just going to prototype something in a sandbox in the code base versus like wasting any time in Figma Make.
Yeah. I have so many questions
Yes, go for it.
about all of this. It happened to me recently. New client came to me and they said, like, well, we have this Figma Make thing, like I said before, but I'm not sure if it's good. Like, can you go
Mm,
Figma Make to high fidelity? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Of course. They made a copy from Figma Make towards Figma Design, the Figma as we know it. Looking at it, it's an auto layout spaghetti. Just one
mhm.
layer of text is inside of an auto layout, which it doesn't really have to be. And then the padding and the margins, and it's all fractional numbers. So instead of 16, it's 15.99. So I'm wondering, just as a quick sanity check, is that
Yeah.
the technology just not being there yet, and it will be fixed in a new update, or did my client not really use the design system well enough, or is it a skill issue for them, or is it a tool issue? Do you know
It's
that?
probably, I think it's probably an input issue. So it's
Okay.
like, it's probably them hacking away, like going iteration by iteration, like them nudging
Hmm.
things until it gets into that fraction. So the prompt might not have been use a 10 column layout for this
Right.
SaaS app.
Right.
It's just to make me this screen based on a sketch.
Right.
So it's
Right.
it's it's probably the consequence of a bad prompt or a,
Yeah.
a
Okay.
series of bad prompts.
Yeah. Or let's call it a design prototype made by a non-designer, basically, like that, because it's not like they're doing it wrong. It's just that they weren't aware that a 10 column grid is a thing. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if they were aware of all of that, they probably wouldn't have needed me in the end. So I don't mind. And I enjoy the work, building and cleaning the stuff up. Yeah. Okay. So that's one thing. What I'm thinking about in terms of just going into code directly,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's just much harder to collaborate that way. Because you send a Figma link, you can just go in, you see each other's name and cursor, and you can click and drag things around. But if I create a branch on the code base, I have to do the work, make sure it actually works, no errors, publish, share. I have to get someone in a call, or they are going to look at it async. So collaboration is just way harder. I think if you would have a Figma, their way of collaborating in code,
Mm-hmm.
which is you probably need something visual to do it, that would be super cool. So that's something that holds me back from doing a feature in code directly. Just
That's fair.
annoyance to get it shared and collaborate on it. But if it's a small thing, a UI fix or putting in a search bar in a settings screen is what I've been doing today. Like I'll load into code because I know it's straightforward enough that the number of comments will be low.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's a gap I wasn't thinking about, like the collaboration piece. Like it's going to be on your local environment. How do you share it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can share it, like I said, but it's more like the ease of sharing is way harder.
Yeah. Something, but also like on that Figma Make point, there's something I've been thinking about this week is that like maybe a version of this looks like creating a prototype in Figma Make as like let's test a concept quickly with users and see if we're good to go. And then leveraging that Figma Make to create the PRD and to create the PRD MD file that you hand over to developers. So it's anchored on the user flow and like the logic, which fixes a bunch of things. So like people are so obsessed with how fast Anthropic is releasing features like every 8 days, but that's just a consequence of them being like the validation layer just living within their product because they're API first. They're just getting the signals of what to build next. But maybe Figma Make may be the bridge where you can quickly create a thing, validate it, and then boom, we have the logic set in this thing that we can extract business information and also like technical implementation.
Yeah. That makes sense. So fun thing is that we're now talking about designers in code, and then we start this conversation with designers being angry that someone else is doing their job. And we don't even mind talking about doing part of a developer's job.
Right. How would they feel?
Yeah. So, maybe that's just a thing. Maybe everyone in tech has a bit of an existential crisis. Like, who am I? What is my job? Well, maybe the best thing to do is just to enjoy and explore.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, if you just think of it think a level like higher than where like your job title is, it's like, what are you trying to do at the end of the day? It's to make a company succeed or to help the company help their users fix a problem. That's what it is. Like the shape and form of the execution may look different from day to day, but like that's the North Star. That's what we're doing at the end of the day, regardless of where you are in the chain of events to fix it.
Yeah, I think so. There's way more to discuss there, but I think this is probably enough to give thought for food. Is that what they say? Just to let people think about it a bit more?
Yep, food for thought.
Food for thought.
Food for thought. Let's do on that one.
Yeah. You can see that it's not my first language. I think in Dutch we say it the other way around. And if it's really silly, we can cut it out, but I also don't mind it staying in. So
I'm leaving it in.
There you go. It's authentic. It's real. We make mistakes. All right.
Till next time. All right, that's another episode in the bag.
Yeah, great episode. By the way, if you're stuck second-guessing your work or trying to figure out your next move, drop a question in the comments or leave a review. We might actually feature you in one of our future episodes.
And if you got any value from this episode, hit subscribe wherever you're listening. It helps more than you think.
You can find everything else, resources, articles, and more at designtablepodcast.com.
Thanks for being here.
See you next time.